Hi, I hope you're doing well. My name is Vita. I'm a crafty hippie homemaker and welcome to my channel. Hippie Crow Hub is where creativity meets sustainability. Today I am making a video about easy upcycles that I believe most people can do. And this dress is going to become a top because I believe it will fit much better. This shirt, we are going to remove the sleeves because they're very tight, and we will turn those tight sleeves into ruffled, flattering sleeves. I will also cut the bottom part into a triangle shape and attach the shawl scarf in the bottom. We have two pairs of tops of the jeans, and we are going to decorate the bottom of it, turning it into a beautiful maxi skirts, and we'll use this white cotton fabric to do so. This shirt is going to become a hippie upcycle shirt, and to start we are going to change those boring buttons, also add a couple of lovely decorations on the shoulders. These brown buttons are going to be replaced with these pink cute buttons. And this thrifted crochet table napkin is going to be attached at the back of the shirt. Also, I'm going to add a whole bunch of buttons here as a little decoration. And let's get crafty. To start, I am going to sew these shoulder decorations on the shirt. I'm doing it by hand because it is easier to access this area. You could do it with a sewing machine too, but the crochet decorations are a little bit floppy, and I figured it will be easier to just do it by hand to avoid any tangling or ripping. It takes longer, but practicing patience when you're crafting and sewing is definitely something that needs to be practiced. Also, the buttons that I was talking about are going to have to be sewn by hand regardless. There's no other way. So I figured I'll just do that. And here are these buttons I was talking about. I was gifted a whole bowl of beautiful vintage buttons that it took me a bit to organize and sort out by the shape and size and color. Some of them were matching, some of them are odd ones, so I decided to use the odd ones for decorations and different crafts, and it is so satisfying to play around with that. This napkin is placed now at the back of the shirt. I'm pinning it to make sure that it doesn't slide to the sides. Now this can also be sewn by hand, and I did some of it by hand to kind of secure it. But later also I went over it with a sewing machine just to secure it even better. But really, you do not have to do the sewing machine, but I do recommend hand sewing it on first before using a sewing machine, because a fabric like that and a shape like that can slide and move as you sew on it. So it would just make it easier if you hand sew it, or at least pin it a lot regardless. Also, there are a couple of rips on this napkin, so that was also something I needed to repair, and that is even better because now this beautiful crochet decoration is being given another chance to serve. Let's move on to this funky lady. I cut off the sleeves and you can see the shape of the sleeves is still there. I removed the stitching part, so now it's 2 lines. I will sew that top part together and then I will rouge it and fold it and plait it and attach it to the sides. Also, this square shawl is now 2 triangles. I cut it diagonally to create this shape that drapes nicely on the sides, and also the edges have this beautiful tassels on it, so I wanted to make sure they're used in the correct angle. Now we're gonna move on and do some sewing. So first of all, we are aligning the good side to the good side so that when we sew, the stitch is on the inside. So I'm just attaching these 2 straps together so it's ready to be attached to the sleeve. Also, this fabric is very easy to work. It does not require zigzagging or overlock. It does not fray. So the sewing is very easy. All I'm doing is a running stitch all over. Now what I do, I align that middle to the shoulder, both stitches against each other. And I'm working it from the center towards going down towards the underarm. That way I make sure I attach the fabric evenly. Now you could pin this first before you sew, but I have a little bit more experience, so I'm just going with the flow. You can also do it by hand too. So I did some folding here on the top, but then the rest of the fabric where there's just enough of it to reach that inseam, I'm leaving it flat, and the middle and on the underarm is gonna stay open. I'm not attaching the both fabrics together, just to give it a little bit more flowy vibe. And then I'm doing the same thing, going again from the center and moving down. I just find it easier and to evenly distribute the fabric. And this is a great way to open up the sleeves if they're feeling a little bit too tight and you feel like you want a little bit more flowiness on the shoulder rather than a really tight, snug kind of sleeve. I find it a little bit more flattering because this top had really tight, tiny shoulders. I think it was supposed to be loose on the top, on the body, and then snugger sleeves. And that's why I thought it will fit my daughter better, but she didn't like the whole eyelashes and the lips style thing. She thought it was a little bit too much. So we are going to restyle it. And here I zoomed in a little bit more and I'm working the second sleeve so you can see a little bit better if you want to get another take on what I was just doing and explaining on the other side. And I hope that helps. I'm trying to make this video slightly slower since I am doing the easier upcycles so you can get a better understanding if you are not as experienced. And the very bottom part, I'm just overlapping it. And there you go. The sleeves are gorgeous. And we are going to attach the bottom. Now, I did not film this the best way I possibly could, but again, I distributed the fabric evenly from the center to the center, and I pinned each ends and the middle so that I can attach it evenly. And I'm doing overlock on that thin fabric too, because it is very frayy, and it was not the easiest fabric to work for that reason, because it frays a lot. So I had to be a bit careful how I go about it, but it worked out in the end. And again, you don't even have to do that bottom attaching whole thing. You can just leave your shirt cut or as it is and just adjust the sleeves. So these are just options, and you can use different types of fabrics or do the bottoms in this style, like what I did to this dress. So now I sewed these strings, this long fabrics together, and now we're gonna sew it on. But first I pinned it together, and I did a lot of plaiting and like ruching. So if you want more detailed take on this type of style, I have few extra videos that I'm gonna attach onto this video so you can go and watch. There are a few different ways I'm doing this kind of ruching, and I'm explaining it in a lot more detailed way. Also, a little bit later in this video, I'm gonna be working on the skirt, and then you're gonna see how I pin it together a little bit better. And you can also sew this with a running stitch and then a zigzag on the ends to stop it from fraying and to secure the fabrics a little bit better. I'm using overlock because I have one now, and it just makes the sewing so much neater and so much better. But for the longest time I did not have overlock, so if you don't have overlock, you do not need one to do simple upcycles like this. Okay, so here are the squares. So I cut this fabric into this big squares-ish. It's more of a rectangles, but you can use rectangles or squares, it doesn't matter, both would work. And then after, we're gonna cut out a hole in the middle, and I'll explain how in a moment. But first we need to double fold the edges to stop from fraying, because this fabric frays a lot. It's cotton and it's very thin. So I'm doing all of the edges that were cut to with scissors. So this is one side. The other sides are already done because it's the original finishing. So all I'm doing is 2 sides on each square. And here is the other one. And of course the thread ran out, and these are one of the moments when a sewist needs to be patient and wait for the thread to fill up the bobbin. And here we go. Let's reset us. Even when you use a sewing machine, sometimes there are a lot of moments where you gotta stop and reset yourself because the needle can break or the thread can tangle up. And here we go, we're back on track. So this is the other side. So this is just one square. I'm using 4 squares in total for two skirts. So 4 squares for 2 skirts, but it doesn't have to be 4, it can be just 2, 1 for each skirt. The reason I'm using 2 is because the fabric is very sheer and I want it to have a little bit more layering. So here are these fabrics and I stuck them together like this. And now we are going to fold it in a triangle. And we're gonna do it twice. One way and the other way. And this is how you're going to know how to cut out a perfect center. Now to start, I was really shy and I cut a tiny little small piece. I didn't want to overdo, but to be honest, if you cut the hole bigger than the skirt, it doesn't matter, and I would recommend cutting it a little bit like rounded. So if you cut it bigger, you can do a little bit of plating and rouging as you pin it, so it doesn't have to be an absolute perfect fit, but it should not be smaller than the skirt because otherwise it won't work. Now also this technique can be used to just make a skirt without the denim on the top. You can cut out fabrics like this and then fold and add an elastic into that material, and that will be a very pretty flowy little skirt as it is. I'm using these denim skirts just for extra ideas and because I already had the tops of the denim from the previous project that I made. So these are just different types of decisions and ideas. So there you go. I made it a little bit bigger because I realized it's too tight. And now we are going to pin this onto the denim skirt. And you're gonna see a little bit better how I like to pin. Okay, so I'm aligning it in the way where I want these drapes to fall, kind of planning the center. And now you want the good side against the good side, so the stitching will stay inside of the skirt once you're done. So here I'm usually pinning front, back, sides and sides. Now this exact example does not require rouging, so it makes it very simple, but even when it does require rouging and I have a lot of excess fabric, I do exactly the same thing. I pin front, back, sides and sides. And then I start to pin in between the pins. And each time I make sure that the fabrics are aligned in even way. So even if you would have some rouging to do here, you would be able to evenly distribute it if you navigate yourself in between the pins, if that makes sense. And you can add as many pins as you feel comfortable with. You don't have to add many pins at all. You can just have 4 pins. You can, if you don't have pins, you can take a needle and a thread and do a very basic stitch all around it that later and later just pull it out after you went over it with a sewing machine, or you can just hand stitch the entire thing. If you hand stitch it, the stitching would have to be slightly tighter to make sure that it is secured properly. And Doing overlock or zigzag on the edges is recommended because these fabrics are going to fray, and you don't want to be wearing a skirt and then have half of the skirt to rip off or fall off if you accidentally pull it. So I always like to do extra stitching to extra secure, because there's nothing worse than a seam rip when you're out somewhere and you're wearing something and you do not have extra clothes next to you. And here we are. This is how it's going to look after it's sewn. So simple, so effective. I love how this fabric drapes on this denim skirt. And now time to sew. And like I mentioned before, this does not have to be overlock. You can do a running stitch and a zigzag. But overlock does make a huge difference if you want to just add a little more quality to your sewing. I think this has been one of the best decisions I made buying an overlock machine. And we have completed the projects of the week. I believe these projects are really simple. There are many different ways you can do them. These are a bunch of ideas. To be honest, you can make all of these types of upcycles even by hand. It will take you a little bit longer, but hey, crafting and sewing and making does require a lot of patience, so a good way to practice. So let me just go through a few things since it's complete. So here is a top. So this dress is a silk dress that now has become a top. The shape was not really working for me. It was kind of bigger on the top and tight here. So it was not fitting me, and also the length was really awkward. So I figured if it's not like making me excited, why not turn it into a easy to wear kind of summer casual everyday top with a pair of jeans or whatever way you can imagine. I think this is super easy to make whenever you have a dress that is not fitting your length maybe, or you just need a little change. Because sometimes I feel like it's easy to get bored of the dresses. I prefer like maxi skirts or tops instead of a full dress, because you can wear it in many more different ways if it's a skirt or a top. But again, I do like dresses too, but I'll wear it for a certain amount of time and then I will crave to do something with it. So this top, I think it turned out really cute. So originally it was just a shirt. I bought it for my daughter. So this doesn't fit me. It's really snug and tight. I mean, I could squeeze into it, but it would be really tight on the top. I bought it for my daughter because I thought it was fun, and my daughter, you know, she has an opinion of her own, and she said, hell no. So there you go. I was left with a top that doesn't fit me, and I thought I'll do something with it. And whenever you have a shirt that maybe sleeves are too tight or maybe it doesn't fit you quite right, this is a great way to change it. And you don't even have to add the bottom part if you just want to fix the sleeves, because I find that often a shirt will fit me well but the sleeves won't. So this is a great way to change it up and cut off the sleeves and turn it into kind of like a flowy blouse style sleeves. And the bottom is also cute because this shawl is flowery and it has like little patterns of lipsticks, which I think matches so nicely with the lips and eyelashes kind of vibe. And now it is like a hippie kind of flowy, I would say long top rather than a dress because the bottom is sheer. And it is even more unique than it was originally. All right, what is next? So these skirts, there's two of them. Now, these are really easy to make. When it comes to denim trousers, like if you have like an inseam worn out or it doesn't fit you anymore, or you're just bored of it, there are so many different varieties you can do with just the tops of the denim, because I find that the areas that will wear out usually the most are the bottoms of the legs or the bum area or the inside of the thighs, but this part of the denim would still be good and useful. So this is a great way to do it. You could even do it by hand. It would just take you longer time. I use this square technique because I wanted more flowiness and I wanted this type of bottom. And these fabrics was a curtain, a cotton curtain. So there you go. I'm planning to experiment with one of them with a dye. My dye that I ordered is arriving tomorrow, so I might not be able to squeeze in the picture with how it looks with a tinted bottom. So kind of want to do a teal color, kind of like a dip, and then it going like from lighter to darker kind of thing. I will try one of them first and see, and maybe I'll just leave this one white. But I'll definitely add the pictures either in the next video or in one of the shorts that I'm going to make. So this is that. And these can be rectangle fabrics, can be squares or circles, or you can even make one long line and go around it with rouging. So many different ways you can do. You can experiment with what types of fabrics you can use. The imagination is yours, and I think these are one of the easiest upcycle projects to experiment with. Also a shirt. So original shirt, I thrifted and it was all pink like that. And it is 100% cotton. But the problem with this shirt was that it had some areas where it was discolored and it also had some stains. So I decided to tie-dye, to bleach tie-dye it. So I scrubbled it up, tied it up, bleached it, and it was done before even making this video. And I thought that's all I'm going to do with the shirt. But then I received all these buttons in a bowl by button gods blessing me with a whole bowl of beautiful vintage buttons, and I started imagining things. And I also had these leftover fabrics, and this was thrifted, and even though this had little rips, that's even better because you might not use this napkin as a napkin anymore because it's damaged. But once you sew it onto the fabric, it is pressed down and it has a whole new other style and vibe. And I think this kind of shirt is great for summer cover-up, a little windbreaker. You can just put it over, leave it open with a crop top. And I added these buttons. Also, another way you can elevate your shirt is by just changing the buttons. These original buttons were like brown, and just by changing the buttons, it just started to feel so much more pleasant. And this, you can sew a decoration like that on a separate fabric and then sew it on. I made the heart a little bit off center accidentally. I aimed it for the middle part, but it doesn't really matter. I feel like with upcycle like that, nobody would really question whether it's intentional or not. But again, you know, you don't have to do every single thing that I did to the shirt. You can just do one thing, like sewing a picture from a cutout t-shirt on the back, or maybe just changing buttons, or maybe just tie-dyeing, or maybe just adding little decorations on the sides. And you know, these were leftovers of some blouse that I had, but you can also use like cut up t-shirt strap noodles or little denim straps. You can add it here, not here. There are so many different ways you can play around with these kind of ideas. And yeah, and I think these are very simple, easy to make, and also very effective upcycles when it comes to wanting just a little change on your old things. Yeah, by the way, it is March right now, and I am not wearing my capsule wardrobe right now. This is a cheat, but I am going to make another video with planning April's personal capsule wardrobe, and I will share all the things about what works and not about capsule wardrobe. And also for April, I will use all of these corrections that I have experienced, and I will implement it into the next one. And I will share the outfits that I wore throughout the March, but that's coming closer to April. Next video, I'm still gonna try to do some more sewing, as I have this pile of stuff that I need to do something with, and I don't know what exactly this is going to be, but I'm gonna try and get this done. So stay watching. Thank you for being subscribed. Thank you for commenting and liking the videos. I will love you and leave you at this point. And stay creative. Love and peace. Bye. Mwah.